Republican frontrunner Donald Trump was center stage today in Manhattan as the rest of the field readies to debate in Miami. He was the center of an extraordinary legal and political moment, taking the witness stand at his civil fraud trial. His testimony framed by flashes of anger, defiance, and disdain for the process. Defending himself against allegations he inflated the valuation of his assets to get more favorable treatment on bank loans. It comes 1 year before the 2024 presidential election, with Mr. Trump the leader by a wide margin. Today in court, Mr. Trump again attacked the trial as election interference and called it ridiculous. At one point, the judge telling Mr. Trump's lawyer to control him, saying this isn't a political rally. None of it seems to be having an effect on Mr. Trump's political fortunes so far. New polling showing him leading President Biden in 5 key battleground states. We'll get to that in a moment. But first, senior legal correspondent Laura Jarrett on the former president's day in court.
Tonight, a combative Donald Trump testifying for hours in a Manhattan courtroom with his real estate empire on the line.
This trial is ridiculous.
Mr. Trump showing flashes of anger as he sparred with the judge and the New York Attorney General's office, brushing off accusations that he doctored financial statements to inflate the value of some of his most well-known properties, like Mar-a-Lago, Trump Tower, and 40 Wall Street, all to defraud banks and lenders.
But at the end of the day, the only thing that matters are the facts and the numbers. And numbers, my friends, don't lie.
Already found liable for fraud, the former president now trying to fend off a $250 million penalty, growing heated today when pressed about whether he overvalued assets found in the Trump Organization's annual financial statements. His face turning red, raising his voice, pointing directly at the judge seated inches away, yelling, "He called me a fraud, and he didn't know anything about me," a reference to the judge's pretrial decision that ruled in the state's favor. Also going after the Attorney General herself, watching on in the courtroom, Mr. Trump calling her a political hack.
I will not be bullied. I will not be harassed. This case will go on.
And Mr. Trump did make some concessions, admitting today he probably saw some of the disputed financial statements that went to banks and lenders, while repeatedly dismissing them as not important because they included certain disclaimers, saying today that his net worth is actually far greater than what's reflected in his financial statements, touting the value of the Trump brand.
The numbers are much greater than on the financial statement. And we've already proven that. They said Mar-a-Lago is worth $18 million. Mar-a-Lago is worth anywhere from probably 50 to 100 times more than that.
The judge's patience tested at times by that same rhetoric on the witness stand, calling parts of Mr. Trump's testimony irrelevant and rambling, warning the Republican frontrunner this is not a political rally.
And Laura, Mr. Trump's lawyers also signaling today they plan to ask for a mistrial.
That's right, Lester. Mr. Trump's defense attorneys believing that the judge and his law clerk are somehow biased against him, saying that they intend to file that mistrial motion soon. But for now, Lester, this case moves forward with Ivanka Trump set to testify Wednesday morning.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.